Kevin stood on my doorstep with his designer luggage, and that entitled smirk I remembered too well. "As your son, I'm entitled to some of this," he announced, gesturing toward my house like he owned it. "We're moving in. You have all this extra space anyway." 13 years of silence, and this was his grand reunion speech. If you're watching this, settle in, because this story is about to take some unexpected turns. I suppose I should explain how we got here, how my own son could stand at my door after over a decade of treating me like I was already dead, demanding a piece of the fortune he just learned about. But first, let me tell you what happened next, because some moments are worth relishing. I smiled at Kevin and his wife, Nora, who was hanging back like she expected me to slam the door in their faces. Smart woman. "Well," I said, my voice as steady as granite, "isn't this a surprise?" Kevin's confidence faltered just a fraction. He wasn't expecting calm. He was expecting the desperate, grateful mother he'd abandoned all those years ago. "Mom, we've been thinking," he started, but I held up my hand. "Kevin, darling," I said, using the same tone I'd used when he was 5 and had finger-painted the hallway with my best lipstick. "Before you say another word, there's something you should know about your mother." I paused, watching his face carefully. I've learned a lot about people in 13 years, especially about family who only show up when there's money involved. Nora finally stepped forward, her smile as polished and fake as her designer handbag. "Barbara, we know there's been some distance, but family is family, right? We want to rebuild our relationship." "Rebuild?" I laughed, and it felt good, really good. "Honey, you can't rebuild something that was deliberately bulldozed." I looked between them, these two opportunists circling what they assumed was an easy mark. "But please, come in. Let's talk about relationships. Let's talk about entitlement. Let's talk about exactly what you think you deserve from me." As they wheeled their suitcases past me into the foyer, I caught Kevin's reflection in the hallway mirror. For just a moment, he looked uncertain, like a gambler suddenly doubting his odds. Good. Because what he was about to learn would shake that arrogance right out of him. The real question wasn't whether I'd let them stay. The real question was whether they'd want to stay once they understood exactly who they were dealing with. "This place is cozier than I expected," Nora announced, her eyes already calculating square footage and potential improvements. She had that look women get when they're mentally staging a house for sale. Kevin was doing the same thing, except he was appraising everything as if he were already planning my estate sale. If these two thought they were dealing with the same broken woman who'd begged for crumbs of their attention 13 years ago, they were in for a rude awakening that would leave them speechless. I led them to the living room, the same room where Kevin had delivered his callous parting shot all those years ago. "Sit," I said, gesturing to the sofa. "Let's catch up." The irony wasn't lost on me that this was probably the first time in his adult life that Kevin was willingly following my instructions. "We heard about your good fortune," Nora began, clearly the designated spokesperson for this little expedition. "Kevin's been worried sick about you, haven't you, honey?" Kevin nodded with the enthusiasm of a man who'd practiced this performance in the mirror. "I have, Mom. When I heard about the lottery, I thought she shouldn't be dealing with all that money alone. It's dangerous. People might try to take advantage." I almost choked on my herbal tea. "Take advantage," I repeated slowly. "You mean like showing up uninvited after 13 years of silence, demanding a place to live and access to money you had no part in earning?" "That's not what this is," Kevin said quickly. But his eyes darted away from mine. "This is about family responsibility, about making sure you're protected." Protected. I set down my cup with deliberate care. "Kevin, the last time we spoke, you told me I was cramping your style. You said successful people don't carry dead weight, and I was your dead weight. Those were your exact words." The color drained from his face. Nora's fake smile flickered like a faulty neon sign. "That was different," he mumbled. "I was young, trying to establish myself." "You were 32, I interrupted, "old enough to know that words are like knives and some wounds never heal." old enough to understand that some bridges once burned don't magically rebuild themselves just because circumstances change. Nora jumped in, her voice honey-sweet with calculated concern. Barbara, we all say things we regret when we're under pressure. What matters is that we're here now, ready to be a family again. Ready to be a family. That was rich, coming from a woman who'd helped orchestrate my exile from their lives. I looked at these two people sitting in my living room, and I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: complete and utter control. They needed something from me, which meant for the first time in our relationship, I held all the leverage. "Tell me," I said, leaning back in my chair, "exactly how much of my good fortune do you think you're entitled to?" Kevin and Nora exchanged that look married couples share when they're about to gang up on someone. I'd seen it before, back when they were systematically cutting me out of their lives. The difference was, this time I recognized it for what it was: a strategy session unfolding in real time. "It's not about entitlement," Kevin said, trying for sincerity and landing somewhere near pathetic. "It's about family obligation, about ensuring this money doesn't change you or make you vulnerable to unscrupulous individuals." "Unscrupulous individuals," I repeated. "You mean people like my own son and daughter-in-law who vanished the moment they decided I was no longer useful?" Nora's mask slipped for just a second, revealing something sharp and calculating beneath the surface. "Barbara, we understand you're hurt, but we're talking about your future, your security. This money could secure your comfort for life if it's managed properly." "Managed properly," I said. "By whom? You two? The same people who couldn't manage to send me a holiday card for over a decade?" Kevin shifted uncomfortably. "We've been busy building our lives, our careers. We had to focus on our priorities. And now I'm a priority again. How convenient." I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at my meticulously cared-for garden. "Tell me about these lives you've been building, this focus on priorities. I'm curious how that's been working out for you." The silence behind me stretched long enough that I knew I'd struck a nerve. When I turned around, Kevin was staring at his hands like they held the secrets to a very disappointing universe. "We've experienced some headwinds," Nora admitted, her voice tighter now. "The market's been turbulent. Kevin's consulting business has been fluctuating." "Headwinds?" I nodded. "Is that what we're calling it? Because from what I've gleaned through the grapevine, yes, I do still have friends in this town, and they love to gossip. Your headwinds involve a mountain of debt, a shaky foundation, and a business that exists primarily in Kevin's imagination." Kevin's head snapped up. "How do you know these things, Kevin? You excised me from your life, not from the collective memory of this town. People talk. They've been talking for years." I sat back down, enjoying the way both of them seemed to deflate on the sofa. They filled me in on the missed opportunities, the questionable ventures, the lifestyle you couldn't realistically sustain. They also mentioned something quite intriguing regarding the catalyst for your decision to terminate our relationship all those years ago. Nora's face had gone pale. "What are you implying?" "I'm implying the real reason you both decided I was a social liability. It wasn't about professional image or societal baggage or any of that drivel you spoon-fed me." I smiled, and it felt like the first authentic smile I'd had in what felt like a lifetime. "It was about the potential windfall you anticipated from your father's eccentric uncle, the one who made it abundantly clear he disapproved of individuals who neglected their parental responsibilities." The look on Kevin's face confirmed my suspicions. "Aha! You discarded me because you believed Uncle Robert would bequeath his fortune to you if you demonstrated independence, achievement, and a lack of familial obligations." I leaned forward. "How did that pan out for you?" Kevin's complexion shifted through various shades of red before settling on a sickly, defeated gray. Nora, to her credit, attempted to maintain her composure, but I could see her frantically reassessing whatever strategy they'd devised en route to my doorstep. "Uncle Robert bequeathed his entire estate to the local animal shelter," Kevin mumbled. "Every last penny, did he?" I didn't even attempt to conceal my satisfaction. Turns out, he held strong convictions about individuals who abandon their aging parents for financial gain. Who would have foreseen that? Nora found her voice first. That's ancient history. Barbara, what's crucial is the present. What's crucial is family extending support to one another during challenging times. Family extending support to one another. I savored the words like a fine wine. That's exceptionally ironic coming from you. Remind me, Nora, when precisely did you begin considering me family? Because I distinctly recall you referring to me as Kevin's albatross at your housewarming celebration. She flinched. You weren't supposed to overhear that, but I did, along with numerous other illuminating remarks about how considerably improved your lives would be once you handled the mother situation. I stood up again, this time moving to the mantel where I displayed my family photographs. All of them dated from before Kevin's marriage. I spent 13 years grappling with what I'd done to warrant such treatment, 13 years questioning my worth as a mother. I picked up a photograph of Kevin at his college graduation, his arm around me, both of us radiating happiness. But I didn't fail, did I? I nurtured a son who was compassionate, considerate, and generous. The failure was what transpired after he connected with you. That's not equitable, Kevin protested weakly. Equitable? I turned to face them both. You want to discuss equity? Equity would have entailed a dialogue before severing all ties. Equity would have entailed transparency regarding your motivations. Equity would have entailed treating your mother as a human being rather than a liability to be managed. We made missteps, Nora said, her voice edged with growing desperation. But we're present now. We aspire to rectify matters. Rectify matters, I echoed. With my funds. It's not about the funds, Kevin insisted, but his voice lacked sincerity. Really? Then let's conduct a brief experiment. I walked to my purse and retrieved my checkbook. Let's hypothetically say I issue you a check this very instant for $50,000, a munificent gift to alleviate those headwinds you alluded to. Would you accept it and depart? Their eyes illuminated like Christmas tree lights. The answer was emblazoned across their faces even before Kevin spoke. We couldn't possibly accept such a substantial sum, he said, but he was already mentally allocating the funds. Perhaps we could negotiate some form of arrangement. A loan. Perhaps a loan, I said. Of course. And I presume you'd wish to deliberate the terms of this loan while residing in my dwelling, consuming my provisions, and availing yourselves of my hospitality. Well, we are family, Nora said, as if that clarified everything. Yes, I agreed. We are family, and that's precisely why what transpires next is going to sting so profoundly. I closed the checkbook with a snap that reverberated throughout the room like a gunshot. Kevin and Nora both flinched, and I realized they'd been unconsciously holding their breath, anticipating the moment I began writing. The thing about family, I said, settling back into my chair like royalty on a throne, is that it's a reciprocal arrangement. Loyalty, support, affection. These aren't unidirectional avenues to be traversed solely when convenient. Mom, we recognize we haven't been exemplary, Kevin started. Exemplary? I laughed, and the sound was sharp enough to shatter glass. Kevin, exemplary would have been a simple phone call on Mother's Day. Exemplary would have been including me in your lives instead of concealing me like a scandalous secret. What you two perpetrated wasn't merely imperfect, it was calculated cruelty. Nora shifted forward on the sofa, her desperation palpable. Barbara, we're prepared to acknowledge our shortcomings. We desire to cultivate a more constructive relationship moving forward. Cultivate a more constructive relationship, I repeated thoughtfully. Commencing when? Commencing the instant you learned of my lottery victory. How extraordinarily serendipitous that your yearning for familial reconciliation coincided precisely with my shift in financial status. Kevin had the decency to appear ashamed, but Nora was made of sterner stuff. People evolve, Barbara. People mature. We're not the identical individuals we were 13 years ago. You're accurate in that assessment, I agreed. You're not the identical individuals. You're older, you're more financially strapped, and you're more desperate. But fundamentally, you're precisely who you've always been. I stood up and walked to the window again, not because I needed to admire the view, but because I wanted them to squirm while I spoke. You're curious about how I occupied my time these past 13 years while you were preoccupied with constructing your momentous lives and prioritizing your professions? Neither of them responded, but I could feel their undivided attention like heat on my back. I acquired knowledge. I enrolled in courses. I devoured books. I cultivated new friendships. I discovered that I possess a rather sharp intellect when I'm not being labeled as a burden. I turned around to face them. I also gained proficiency in investing, in financial planning, in safeguarding assets from individuals who might seek to exploit them. Kevin's face registered nothing. What's your meaning? I mean, I didn't simply win the lottery and stash the proceeds under a mattress, Kevin. I retained professionals, adept professionals, the kind who specialize in insulating affluent individuals from family members harboring dubious motives. You retained legal counsel, Nora said, her voice devoid of inflection. Among others, I engaged financial advisors, estate planners, even a private investigator. I smiled at their horrified expressions. You'd be astonished at what a driven individual can unearth regarding someone's financial affairs when they possess the resources to do so. You investigated us. Kevin's voice cracked on the final word. I investigated everyone, Kevin. Acquaintances, distant relatives, philanthropic organizations, investment opportunities. When you suddenly acquire considerable wealth, you swiftly realize that everyone desires something from you. I walked back to my chair but remained standing. The distinction is, most individuals are transparent about their objectives. Nora's facade had completely disintegrated, replaced by something harder and more calculating. What precisely are you implying? I'm implying that arriving here with your luggage, demanding space in my abode and access to my funds after 13 years of treating me as if I were deceased, was an error in judgment. I finally sat down, deliberately arranging my skirt, lifting my coffee cup, and meeting both their gazes with unwavering composure. I'm implying that if you believe I'm the same woman you discarded all those years ago, you're in for a significant disappointment. The silence hung heavy between us. Kevin looked like he might vomit. Nora looked like she was mentally mapping escape routes, but I wasn't finished with them yet, not nearly. The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed 3 times, and I realized we'd been sitting here for over an hour. Time indeed flies when you're witnessing people's meticulously crafted schemes disintegrate in real time. So, I said, setting down my empty coffee cup, let's delve into your genuine motivations, not the contrived family reunion facade, not the feigned concern for my well-being. Let's engage in an honest dialogue about the underlying reasons for your presence. Kevin opened his mouth, likely to launch into another rehearsed monologue about family and concern, but I held up my hand. Before you answer, allow me to share some of the intriguing details my investigators unearthed. I reached into the drawer of my side table and extracted a manila folder. Were you aware that people's financial records become quite accessible when you know where to look and have the appropriate professionals asking the questions? Nora's eyes locked onto the folder as if it were a viper poised to strike. For example, I continued, opening the file, I discovered that you've been living beyond your means for approximately 5 years now. The consulting business that Kevin claims is merely experiencing a slowdown. It hasn't secured a legitimate client in 8 months. Kevin's face lost all color. How could you possibly ascertain that? In the same manner that I know about the 3 maxed-out credit cards, the loan secured against your vehicle, and the second mortgage on your residence that you're 2 months behind on. I pulled out a sheet of paper. In the same manner that I know you've been soliciting funds from Nora's parents, falsely representing that it's for business expansion when it's actually to keep your heads above water. You had no authorization, Nora whispered, her voice devoid of genuine anger, replaced by the hollow tone of someone who'd been apprehended. No authorization? I laughed, and this time it was genuinely amused. Honey, I had every authorization the moment you elected to appear at my doorstep making demands. Due diligence, as they call it in the business world, something you might have acquainted yourselves with had either of you ever managed a thriving enterprise. Kevin slumped in his chair like a deflated balloon. We're in predicament. Fine. We're in severe predicament, but that doesn't negate the reality that you're my mother. That has to hold some significance." "It does hold significance," I agreed. "It holds significance in that I'm going to grant you one opportunity, only one, to be transparent with me, to abandon the charade, cease the manipulation, and articulate precisely what you require and why." They exchanged glances, some form of silent communication transpiring between them. Finally, Kevin straightened up and met my gaze. "We're poised to forfeit everything," he said quietly. "The house, the automobiles, likely Nora's parents' funds as well. We owe approximately $300,000, and we possess no means of repayment." $300,000? I repeated. "That's quite a quandary you've created for yourselves." "We engaged in imprudent investments," Nora added. "Kevin's business partner embezzled a significant portion of their capital and vanished. By the time we discerned what had transpired, it was irreparable." For the first time since their arrival, they sounded voracious. It didn't elicit empathy, but it did pique my curiosity. "And you surmised that appearing here with demands and luggage was your optimal strategy for obtaining assistance?" "We reasoned," Kevin said slowly, "that if we presented it as a familial reunion, as an aspiration to spend time with you, it might prove less daunting than confessing our need for financial assistance." "Less daunting," I said. "For whom?" Kevin had the decency to appear ashamed. "For us. We thought it would be less daunting for us." Finally, a sliver of authentic honesty. It was almost refreshing. "Well," I said, closing the folder and setting it aside. "Now we're progressing. $300,000, I repeated, allowing the number to linger in the air like smoke from a burning structure. "That's quite an accomplishment. Most individuals require decades to accrue that level of debt." Kevin winced. "We're cognizant of how it appears." "Are you?" "Because it appears like two individuals who made a chain of disastrously poor decisions and are now seeking someone else to foot the bill." I leaned back in my chair. "Tell me about this business partner who supposedly pilfered your funds." "Marcus Williams," Nora said promptly. "He was Kevin's college roommate. They launched the consulting firm jointly 5 years ago." "Marcus Williams," I repeated, retrieving my phone. "The amusing aspect of having skilled investigators, Kevin, is that they tend to be thorough." I scrolled through my notes. Marcus Williams didn't embezzle anything. Marcus Williams discovered that his business partner was diverting company funds into personal expenditures and gambling debts. He reported it to the authorities and dissolved the partnership to safeguard himself. The silence in my living room was so absolute, I could hear the refrigerator whirring in the kitchen. "That's not the sequence of events," Kevin said weakly. "Isn't it? Because according to the police report?" "Yes, there's a police report. You've been under scrutiny for business fraud for the past 8 months. The district attorney simply hasn't decided whether to press charges yet." Nora's face had assumed the hue of ancient newspaper. "How are you privy to police reports?" "In the same manner that I know you've been informing your parents that Kevin suffers from a rare medical condition requiring exorbitant treatment, the same manner that I know you've borrowed $50,000 from 3 different relatives utilizing 3 different sob stories." I set my phone down carefully. "You two aren't merely insolvent. You're con artists." "We're not criminals," Kevin protested, but his voice lacked conviction. "Really? What would you characterize as deceiving your family about battling cancer to obtain funds? What would you characterize as embezzling from your own enterprise? What would you characterize as appearing here after 13 years with a fabricated narrative designed to manipulate me into subsidizing your fraudulent lifestyle?" For the first time since their arrival, I detected genuine terror in their eyes. Good. Terror was authentic. "We never intended for it to escalate this far," Nora whispered. "But it did escalate this far, and now you're here in my house imploring me to rescue you from the repercussions of your own choices." I stood up and walked to the window again. Here's what's transpiring next. I could sense them both holding their breath behind me, anticipating whatever ultimatum I was about to issue. The afternoon sunlight was streaming through my kitchen window, accentuating the dust motes suspended in the air. Such a tranquil scene for such a momentous occasion. "You're going to pack up your suitcases," I said without turning around, "and you're going to depart from my dwelling. But before you do, we're going to engage in a conversation about integrity and accountability." "Mom, please," Kevin started. "I'm not finished." I turned to face them, and I could see they were both on the verge of panic. You see, the fascinating aspect of enlisting investigators is that you glean all sorts of unforeseen details. For instance, I discovered that I wasn't the only family member you severed ties with 13 years ago. Kevin's Adam's apple bobbed like a fishing lure. "What are you implying?" "I'm implying your Aunt Sarah. Remember her? My sister? The one who assisted with the purchase of your college textbooks and consistently sent you birthday funds every year until you abruptly ceased returning her calls?" Nora shot Kevin a look that could have dissolved steel. "It turns out," I continued, "that Sarah endeavored to reach out to you multiple times after you estranged me. She was worried about me, desired to comprehend what had unfolded. You instructed her to mind her own business and blocked her number." "We were establishing boundaries," Nora said defensively. "Boundaries?" I nodded. "Is that what you term it when you discern that a family member might bequeath you funds in their will, so you maintain contact just long enough to ensure you're still included, then vanish once more?" Kevin's face underwent various intriguing color transformations. "How did you—" "Sarah informed me regarding Sarah's will," I said simply. "She amended it last month. Guess whose name was removed? Apparently, she disapproves of individuals who abandon their mothers for monetary gain and then reappear when they require financial assistance." "You poisoned her against us," Kevin accused. "I didn't have to poison her against you. You accomplished that entirely on your own." So there you have it. The shocking truth about Kevin and Nora, and a glimpse into the kind of woman I've become after all these years. The main message here? Don't underestimate the power of resilience and self-discovery, and never ever assume you know someone's story, because sometimes the greatest transformations happen in the quietest of spaces, and believe me, this is just the beginning. In part 2, you'll see what happens next, and whether or not the tables are turned. What did you think of all that? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below. Any questions, reactions, or just to join the conversation. And if you enjoyed this first part, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss part 2 and all the other stories that I'll be sharing. Trust me, it's going to be a wild ride. Thanks for watching.